the importance of community reorganization. Okay, so we're here with us to Susan de los Santos, that she is the publisher of the Filipino press. She focuses on marketing, community outreach, and operations, and shares a vision about what is good for the community that she serves. Welcome, Susan. And then we have also Cora, Oriel. Hello. She's president of Action Journal Publications, and she has worked in the ethnic media space and has been an advocate for women and other minority groups. Cheryl Morrow. Hello. She's publisher of San Diego Monitor News. The vision of her family is that the family founded this publication is to establish the publication as a national leader in Black critical thinking journalism. I'm not sure the author. And Fanny Miller is the president and editor of the Latino San Diego Newspaper. Her newspaper has been published for many years, and she has 2 decades already?
34.
34 decades. 34 years. And she has branched out to other publications and a website in English. So they have a lot of experience in community journalism. So I'm going to pass the microphone to them. I'm going to keep moving a little bit to move the microphone. I would like to start, and maybe with Susan, or somebody else, of course, who wanted to join in. And I guess I have to recommend to put the microphone very close, otherwise we don't get the sound. Would you like to share with us, like, how do publications serve the Filipino community, and especially, how do you stay in touch with your readers? How do you, Susan?
So how do we get in touch with the readers? We actually reach out to them by attending their functions or events. We identify who the leaders in the community and find out what their goals are for their constituents, or find out what is important to them so that we can share their vision of their community and share it with the leaders of our application.
Cora, how does your publication reach the groups also that you release, and how do you give voice to the people that is in the community? And also you can also, of course, answer and explain what you do if you want to just change the subject.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Cora Oriel. I'm the publisher of the Asian Journal. We're a Filipino newspaper, even though the name is Asian. We are focused on the Filipino segment, and we have edition in San Diego, Los Angeles, Northern California, Las Vegas, Nevada, and New York, New Jersey. And in the Philippines, we have a magazine, a lifestyle magazine called Baliparan, which is a Tagalog word for somebody who's returning to the home country. Anyway, we have local reporters and editors in each of the editions that we have, and they reach out similar to what Susan shared. They go out to the events, and we also, our reporters and editors are also proactive in reaching out to the community for the news that matters to them. And also, one of the things that we do is we look into the mainstream for issues that are pertinent, that are of concern to the general population, but at the same time present them in a manner that's relatable to the community that we serve.
That is an important point. And how do we as a community paper compete or complement the mainstream media? So, Cheryl, would you like to share with us, how do you do this? How do you bring the voice of the Black community, and how do you work in relation of the main media?
I'm going to answer that, probably 2 questions to that. One of the things that I have found to be very effective is through your direct email, the email client. And one of the things that is very important to our readers is to ask questions. Always probe into them. And because, sometimes you don't know that your content or whatever is reaching them. And so must always survey, always communicate with them. And so directly in, what I have found effective is through the subscriber opt-in in that particular list, just direct them. And two, I created some ambassadors. I just picked some, you know, when you online you have like a moderator or something. And so I picked 10 that are in charge of social media groups. And for them to always throw back to me and make sure that our content is on par. But to keep the pulse of the African American perspective, and just in that, there's a lot of generational stuff in that in our community. So the base, the one, probably the most important factor is to always ask them questions about what the content, because the content gets sour, and sometimes it gets overlooked into being very specific. And I don't know what level we get to be specific. So that is one of the two key points.
We don't have any other microphone by any chance? But Fanny, you have a long time serving the Latino community in Spanish, but also this year, recently last year, actually you started also branching into English. Can you talk to us about the experience you serve in this community, but also why in two languages, and if you can use an explanation or a sharing, how do you see the evolution of the Latino market in this area?
Buenas tardes. So, yes, I've been publishing for 34 years. Latino covers the whole county. San Diego County, which is a couple of circles, but it's pretty much everything. I just want to say that it's really nice to be with these, ladies, because one thing that we have in common is that we own our publications. So we're not only editors, we not only are part of the community, but we own our publications. And I think that just makes us a little bit different, because what I have always said about covering our communities is that we don't just cover it, we are the community, so we're part of it. I mean, when it comes to health, politics, anything that, the average citizen is concerned, that's also us. We have kids, we're grandmas, so we're part of the community. So, my slogan has always been, we just don't cover the community, we are the community. And in that's how we stay in touch with the community. For the people that know me, I started Latino at the young age of 21 years old. I didn't have a degree or pretty much anything, but I did have a lot of passion. It always was in Spanish since the beginning. And the reason I was in Spanish is I'm from Colombia. I came, I'm an immigrant. I came at the age of 12. But my Spanish always stayed with me. And, I always say that we think in English, but we feel in Spanish. And, so Spanish is very important in our culture, and that's why I was criticized for having it in Spanish, and that was in 1998. And, I did 34 years. And then, so we've been part of it, and also one of the questions is, how do we stay in touch? Well, I always say that, it's the readers. And the readers own the newspaper. I just kind of manage it, but they own it. So, complaints, sometimes we're getting 411, calls like, how do I do this, how do I do it? That's how much in touch we're with them. So, sometimes it's like basic stuff, like how do you get a business license? And they'll call us. Just because there's, with newspapers, which is not the same as the English regular market newspapers, we're still vibrant and we're growing. So that's also, and plus there's a trust issue, a trust with the community. They trust us, so they go to us for many questions. Last year, as being here in this industry for so long, I met a lot of people during the pandemic. The pandemic changed a lot of way of doing business. And I was asked if I wanted to become part of a program, it's called the experimental program. But the experimental is the relationship between Google, the publisher, and a Canadian company. And so they asked me if I would want to do it, and I said, yeah. I said, I never say no to anything that is going to teach me and learn. So that's what Chula Vista today came into place. And they have been done in Canada and a lot. But in the US is very new, where they will do a news site for a city, for a very small city. Actually, Chula Vista, which is like over 200,000 residents, is the largest project that we have in this city. So that's how I became involved with English. Has it been an eye-opener? Yes. It's a different monster, and it's a different market. But also Chula Vista is 60% Latino. So we're just doing a lot of the same that we do for the community in Spanish that we do for Chula Vista. So that's very exciting and how it's growing. But it's also the anniversary of Chula Vista. My office is in Chula Vista, so that's part of being involved with the community.
One challenge that sometimes the mainstream media is starting to have is to change from going to print to digital, and also to go to reach younger generations that sometimes they say don't read. I would like to just pass the microphone. If you can share that what the company is, how the community newspapers are using the new media or social media to communicate your messages. Cheryl touched a little bit already, but also how you're reaching new readers. And I don't know if you have the demographics, you can tell us if you are reaching the readers or not.
There's about 217,000 Filipinos in San Diego, and majority of our readers are about at least 3 generations. So we have a lot of the parents, grandparents read the paper and send their kids to get the paper. Because what they want to know is what's happening in the Philippines and what's happening locally. So we actually provide those 2 main items in our newspaper on a weekly basis. So being unique that way, it ensures that we have good readership as far as how do we reach out to, let's say, the millennials or the younger generation. We actually get people who are millennials who would be able to provide the news or content that the millennials that appeals to the millennials. And since we're a community-oriented newspaper, we basically reach out to the community by producing events and participating in different community events. So we do it on the back end and the front end, sideways. So we want to make sure that we have a good vision of what is needed in the community by asking our readers what they want to see in the newspaper and what is important to them. And we also do a lot of also forums or stories, so we do a lot of different things. Just make sure that we have an intergenerational reach within our community.
Same question?
Yeah, I think
So, younger. So, I have always believed and I have always managed that the online is one aspect and the print is another aspect. We don't do the same things on both of them, so it has different readers. So the online, totally is a younger one, a younger generation. It's also in Spanish, and the print it's an older generation. But it also depends what kind of section. We have a section that is called the Club de la Buena Amistad, and it's funny because people read it just thinking that it's fun, but we have had a lot of people that meet, and a lot of people that have married do that. And that's a lot of readers, and if you go to it, we have readers that are 18 from 70 years old. So, that's a lot of how we do our marketing and know where our readers are. But it's a different one. So the online it's younger, and we manage it differently than we do the print. And how we attract more. I always say that you just have to, you just have to know what they want. The younger reader wants a totally different of the older one, but then there's some things that are the same, like health. Health, the younger reader wants it, and also the older one. So it depends what topics we're talking about, but we treat them a little bit different.
Somehow we managed to do integration of the older and the younger reader through our social media platforms, and we found out that the social media platforms have been very effective in drawing the younger crowd into the publication, into our online publication, and the biggest draw would be historical references. Whenever we come out with something, let's say Philippine Independence Day, we would have a feature that would be in one of our social media platforms, and that is a very good click for, I think it allows us for this younger generations to click and go to our website, and then they discover a treasure trove of information that they could use and they learn more about themselves, because which is what we really want to do for the younger generations to understand and get a better perspective, because most of them are either came here when they were very young or born and raised here. So this would give them, what we want is for them to have an understanding of their parents' culture. And so through the social media platforms, we've been able to draw, and they have become very effective lead generators to our online presence.
Oh, wow, great question. Coming on to being a publisher, I came from America. So I didn't have a chance to actually be a publisher, so I brought a pop culture field. So I changed very quickly. I changed to complete digital, a hybrid, still print, because my dad wouldn't let me go, just cold turkey, but I changed to a digital business model in 2010. So I went all in. But I have to say, as long as all generations are working with a digital device, we are probably the greatest trans generation on the planet that has ever been walking the face of the earth. So in employing a very young staff have grandparents. So we think that we have to have this whole big generational jump. But I will say that all generations have all generations in the family. And we all talk. So by the time you get to the job, to me, I want you to talk about, if you are a millennial, I want you to talk about your grandmother in this particular content. And I want a grandparent or someone over, 60, I want you to talk about your Gen Z, son or daughter or granddaughter, whatever the case may be. But it has been the most incredible learning process for me, because I did not approach it as a journalist, but a business, just a pop culture business. And what is it that we can stay ahead of engaging people, because they're walking around with digital devices. They're going to be, it's news before it gets back to the publication. And so, how do we take a different slant on it? Because when you're local, you're small. And when you're small, you can adapt quick. And you can steer your household, your church, your community, and you can really have big conversations in a very local market. But you also can affect change, because you can talk about things that you can affect as they go citywide, countywide, statewide, and national. And so engaging them is very easy for me, because you keep your staff fresh, you allow them to get bold, stay bold. But I think I had a jump on it. 2010 is almost 20 years of being so It was a very easy model for me to shift and co-code. And so on demand and things of that nature, it's actually a very fun world. But I do have to admit, you're taking forms and a very homey kind of connection and being in person. It is to me a hybrid. It's a combination of things that really allows us to take advantage of being together and engaging with each other in terms of content.
This space in time is pretty short, so the time was very fast. So I'm just gonna ask you one more question and then we open questions from the people that probably have more ideas than I do. But I just, the title of this chat is the importance of community journalism. So I would like each of you to please give me what is the importance of what you are doing in the community? And also if you can throw out what are you looking for ahead in the years to come?
Well, community journalism is important because we don't want ignorant people not knowing information that is critical in order for them to better their lives as immigrants. We always try to do better than who we are before coming over here. We want to improve ourselves and our families. So journalism provides the information that we need in order that we'll be equipped to adjust in the life wherein there's new food, there's new language, there's new people, there's new culture. And in order for us to survive, we need to identify where are the resources, what are the resources available for us to be able to do them. And I think that's the function of the community journalism. It allows for the community to be able to get together, share the same vision, and be able to function in the society where we are in.
The importance is that if we don't tell these stories, nobody else will. So, we're the ones that are telling the stories of our own communities. And, if it usually doesn't happen with anybody, they don't have the feeling we're the ones that live it. So we're the ones that are connected with the community. So the importance it's a must. That's why we, asking for local media to be, to support local media and support, your really cities and your really the niche publications because nobody else is going to do it. Usually, local media is a lot more expensive than covering national news. It takes a lot more. Of employees, of journalists, of photographers to cover that local. National we could buy and it'll be really inexpensive, and you can put a lot of it on your site. But local it's not. So that's why it's really important, for the community to support us, so we can continue telling the stories of the community.
When you have a chance to see one of our print publications, or if you chance upon our home online, you would see that our tagline is the Asian Journal, the Filipino American Community Newspaper. So that in itself is our North Star, which is the Filipino American Community Newspaper. That's what we live by, that's our mission. That was our vision, and now it's our mission, to make sure that we are the voice of our community and that we are there to represent the needs and the hopes and dreams of our community. So that's pretty much what a community newspaper does. Because sometimes we make a joke among ourselves that unless a Filipino kills someone, that's the only time they make it to the front page of the San Diego Tribune or the LA Times. But there's more to the murder than in our community, and those are the things we highlight, the contributions of the Filipino community, and it also serves as a role. We also want to serve, to use our platform in order to serve as inspiration, Because some of the younger folks would say they don't see themselves in mainstream, and thank God these days they see more Filipinos on films, on other avenues. But in the past, they don't. Filipinos or the younger Filipinos do not see themselves represented outside of their homes or outside of their small cliques. But now I think that's why it continues to be important that there are community newspapers that highlights the goodness and the inherent culture and cultural nuances that are unique to our respective communities.
I always say that, big news always starts local. The first thing that a story drops, you want to ask where did it happen. It's always somebody's community. And so, my goal is to always make sure that whatever we deem as community, that tends to have a racial slant. But it actually is just geographic, and so I believe that we all can do the same. And I will say that when your local community is at the zenith of being informed, where you have little ignorance or illiteracy or people not understanding what's going on around them, it is our responsibility to make sure that they are informed. If they're not informed, it doesn't matter, right? And so that is completely my community, because everything starts in someone's community, regardless if it's good or bad or even indifferent. And so my commitment, I think that just as a publication and the staff, we all get together and we talk and we think tank, and how can we improve the level of information in informing them. And I think that once the community trusts us, and once we trust them, and I think that that's just, to me, the most important community, and why community newspapers, because on a local level, let's just say something happens or some wonderful thing happens in San Diego. Or let me just give you an example, and then just passing, my father. Well, people in London have to call the local place and so that is where we always make sure that our communities are on the best stage possible and informed at the highest level.
And can I further add that we have access to underserved and hard to reach members of our community, and I think that is what is unique and that is not available or the reach of the mainstream publication. We have a relationship with our community, they trust us, and so it also entails responsibility on our part to make sure that the information we provide is accurate, reliable, and relevant.
Thank you very much. As you can see, the community journalism is a complement, I see it, for the main journalists, because we voice these publications, and there are women here is interesting. But it's always a good opportunity to complement it's the second read, sometimes they call it. The first read is the main newspaper, and the second read is the community, and so people is going to find what's happening immediately next to them. And that's the job that these publications are doing. So, anybody here from we still have time? Anybody here have questions? So I guess we're going to pass the same microphone.
Yeah, the first thing, I did not see the Chinese newspaper. No, I'm kidding. No, that's the reason why I think that's my key point. Because a lot of language I cannot read it, like Spanish. I'm not criticizing anybody, okay? But the thing is, as far as for the Chinese newspaper publication, that is exactly why they did not show here. Because what I can see, the community journalism. And a lot of people only focus on the vertical, just inter-community. Okay? And actually, for the community journalism, we have to see how to get with the inter-community. And that I think that a lot of, I cannot comment on it like a Filipino or whatever because I don't know. But as far as I can see from the Chinese newspaper, we don't focus. There's nothing wrong with the focus on the vertical one, but we need a horizontal one too. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. So,
I think we like a paper we try to address the need for horizontal reach by having the paper available in other non-Filipino communities. So anyone who reads and understands English can read the paper and be informed.
I just want to say that in San Diego County, there is Korean, Chinese, Filipino. If there's about, I get them all week, there's about probably 20 different language niche publications. So there's definitely one. This festival was, put together on a really fast pace. And of course, we will definitely would love to have them and more of it, because I think, especially the net publications, we get together. In the Hispanic community, there's over 200 nationwide, there are wikis. So yes, we will definitely need to be more involved and share more. I have known her for many years, and we still talk to each other, and we still, compliment each other and help each other. And I think that's something that is, not every publisher is willing to do, but definitely there's a lot more that we need to do.
yes, this is just the first one. It will be more Spanish, right? We didn't really have some time, but believe we know them, we know where they are, and we will hopefully we'll have more. Hopefully we will have more festivals. So don't worry. It was my favorite.
I want to say I enjoyed the panel thoroughly. The broad approach you have, I think, is applicable. Nothing's ever perfect, but it's really good. The question I have as you deal with a younger readership is Instagram, IG your preferred form of social media? And have you looked at podcasts to capture a younger demographic, higher income, more educated, or not more, highly educated? Is that something that you're looking at broadening your reach with your media outlets?
This is another topic. I'm not moderator here.
Yeah, thank you for that question. Currently, Instagram has been very effective in reaching the younger generation, and we do have plans for a podcast. We're just looking for talents at this time, but it's in the works. Thank you.
Great question. Podcasting, we have what we call the San Diego News Voice Inc. And Voice Inc. is usually a way that just people who, instead of writing letters to the editor, they can just speak it. And it's all it is an audio file. I know we have real special data names for audio 3 or whatever the case may be. But once the publication understands correctly, you just put your masthead on it, and you are able to allow them to speak into their phone and get that into. And it's been a faster turn for me to just then create native podcasting, because that takes particular time. And I know that, most people, and let me just say this, Instagram is, the feed is very quick. So I have what is much more effective than them communicating to an editor so an editor can read all that has been to privatize your Facebook page. And when you privatize it, then it becomes, they know that they are a subscriber. So they're a subscriber with me in terms of, they're expecting, they're in their inbox, and they are, subscribed. But they also have some feel of a special membership in terms of a private group, so they can have much more of an honest conversation.
Thank you. I just wanted to say it's very inspiring to see women really leading within the community journalism in San Diego, so thank you. My question is, for the younger generations, I think many are now biracial or mixed or kind of navigating this new experience. How do your publications connect with these changing demographics within San Diego?
Well, and I have it, once again, I had a jump on it because I had to deal with that in terms of beauty. But I will say that I make sure that I pay attention to the category. So, and if I wanted to get 2,000 views on something, if I want to get 10,000 views on something, I know what subjects to pick. And that kind of pulls in, so I do make sure that we have certain categories in the email client. And so I know beauty and sometimes sports, depending on the season. And so you really have to pay attention, especially on the local level, what is actually going on. Not just, it's almost community and the culture of that community has to go, the timing has to really be on point. So, things can happen kind of quick.
As I mentioned earlier, we noticed among the younger generation and even non-Filipinos who come to our social media sites, especially Instagram, it's always food. Number one, the foods. They're always there. Once you post food, it's like thousands. And then history. They always, it's always a value to the younger generation when they realize, oh, so that's why we celebrate this. Because sometimes their parents celebrate something that they don't understand why. So when we have those small words and then they go to the main website to read on the entire article, I think those, and also personalities, especially people in the community who are doing well, who are in the Forbes list, or who are influencers. Whenever we have features of that nature, those really attract the younger crowd.
So Latinos are already on mix. So and we're in Spanish, so we're a little bit different. What they like to see is themselves on the newspaper. So one of the ones, and also to learn, we do a lot of how the system works. When you're doing something political, which is boring for a lot of the youth and for even other youth, then if you could just put how things work, and that attracts it. So it's kind of the educating. Also the education part is, Horacio, who's here, he's a reporter, he does a lot of the education part, and he, takes pictures of them, and, it's, so they like to see themselves, and those are the young people. Those are personal profiles, interviews, locally. So we're only in San Diego County, we try to stay within the county, and that's what the youth likes. Even if it's in the social media stuff, but they will actually want to pick up a copy and keep it for them. One of the other things that we do have is the Celebrando Latinas magazines, which is a spin-off of the conference that we do every year, which is the largest Latina conference in Spanish in the United States. And that magazine is bilingual. And that magazine focuses on Latinas that are, role models that have done many things in the community. And so you could pick up one right outside, or we have it right outside. But I think that's very important to see yourself, and to see yourself in the front page, in the paper, and online. Because sometimes we tend to, publications tend to put pictures, beautiful pictures of other people, and not necessarily what we look like. So I think that's very important, and that attracts the young, attracts pretty much everybody that is in the community.
I think three things would be food, language, culture. Food, not necessarily Filipino food. We invite non-Filipino restaurants to advertise with us because nobody competes with a Filipino adobo cooked by a Filipino mother or grandmother. Language, because a lot of young kids or millennials wanted to learn more about the Filipino culture and the language. So we actually connect with the different, with the Association of Filipino Teachers who teach us Tagalog. So that gives an opportunity for the students to learn Tagalog. It's a conversational opportunity with their parents and their peers. And food, language, and then culture, we always promote our culture, and that would mean sponsorship of the different cultural events and producing cultural events. One of the popular ones are the organizations that promote the traditional Philippine dances. So an example of that will be the Samahan Philippine Dance Company and the Pasakat, who not only do cultural presentations, but they also teach us the kids to learn the dances.
Thank you very much. I guess we don't know, can appreciate they're gonna hang around if you would like to talk to them. I appreciate your presence. I really appreciate your participation, Cheryl, Cora, Fanny, Susan.